All right.
Oh, we're there. We're there yet.
Wow.
We're there yet.
Hi.
Andrew, move a little bit to your left.
To the left. To the left.
Everybody, Andrew, move to the left.
That's scary.
Don't question my lyric sizing.
Where's
There's sizing.
Where's this that I'm looking for?
All right. Let's make sure it came through.
That's what she said.
Oh, well, let's make sure it didn't come through. Would be the way to go.
Looking like it.
You go both ways.
Looks pretty good. Oh, Bud Light commercial before. Wow.
Great.
We're getting Bud Light ads on our channel?
Bud Light.
Nice.
Bud Light.
That's
Give us
pretty
all that
cool,
Bud Light.
actually.
Give us that Bud Light money. We want the Bud Light.
All right. So, yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Show podcast / live stream. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Andrew Murphy.
And Fuego here.
And we are here to discuss nightmare situations, you guys.
Fucking nightmare.
It's so funny. Fuego and I were trying to think of an idea for today's stream, and I put on a video for Lydia by Highly Suspect, a music video. If you guys don't know Highly Suspect, Lydia is an excellent place to start. Do you like that one, Andrew?
Yes.
Do you like that video? It's the one shot of the girl underwater, tied down.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's just one shot of her under there the whole time trying to get herself free.
So it's not the band Lydia.
No, it's the band is Highly Suspect. No, the band is Highly Suspect and the song is called Lydia. But it's really, really good stuff. And I saw this video and I was like, God, that's a nightmare situation for me. And I was like, hey, that might be pretty good. You know, what are some nightmare situations for each of us? And I thought we could go through, we could do a round each, and then we could go to the audience for a round.
Well, and after watching all those Saw movies again, I'm sure you saw a lot of nightmarish situations.
Definitely.
Quite a few of them.
Definitely. Well, I mean, those are not even what I'm thinking of. Like, I'm thinking...
You're thinking normal stuff that people could find themselves in the midst of?
I would be... so, I'll give you my first one. How's that?
Okay, yeah.
So, my first one would be out in the ocean, on a cruise ship, probably would be the only way I would be out there. And because I have confidence in a cruise ship. However, cruise ships, A, get boarded by pirates, and B, they have
monsters, like in Deep Rising.
Well, Deep Rising, but that's it's not what I would be concerned about. I would be concerned about the ship sinking. Yeah. Whatever ship I was on, sinking out where I could not see land, and if it happened at night especially, because when I went on a cruise once...
Noop Noop's here. Hi, Noop Noop.
Noop Noop. Who the fuck is Noop Noop? I was on a cruise once, and I had a balcony, a room with a balcony, and at night, when you step out there, you could not see the edge of the water and where the water and the sky began. Where the water ended and the sky began. It was just all black. You could not see it. You could barely see the waves beneath you because of the ship's running lights.
Certain death out there.
Sorry. It absolutely is. And you think about, if I fell off right now, no one would ever know. The ship would just keep cruising, and I would literally fucking die. Cruising, yeah. No, so that is a nightmare situation, and especially when you add in if there's sharks around you, a la open water. Exactly. So that's my number one most frightening thought, because especially if it's a great white shark. Because great white shark is always the scariest to me, but that, being stuck out at sea at night with no hope of being rescued in sight, and in fact watching the ship drive away from me.
You scream for help.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and I know enough about, because I've been studying sharks for so long, in my free time, not like studiously, but I know that they hone in on rapid fluttering heartbeats, like fish in distress, and Lord knows my heartbeat would be rapidly fucking pounding. So I know I would be attracting attention I wouldn't want if that ever happened to me. So everything would be working against me. Sorry about that, guys. I shouldn't have tapped my thing there.
Well, that shows how in line our tastes are, because that was also mine. So
yeah, really? Okay, well, go specifically describe yours, because it couldn't be perfectly described the same.
Well, it wasn't the cruise ship aspect. It was just like basically being just lost in the ocean. You know, I mean, even if you were like far from the shore, I I guess your scenario was thought out more so like with the cruise ship aspect. Mine was just, I know there's a higher likelihood, especially with like sharks and certain sea creatures like barracudas and whatnot, of being attacked when you're closer to shore instead of when you're out in the open ocean. And so I was just thinking of just having to swim back to try to find land and then being on some crazy deserted area. And I mean, I guess if I was lost in the woods or something like that, which happened to me as a very small child up in upstate New York, and I found like the jawbone of a deer or something like that, and I started just kind of wandering and swinging it around and stuff, and then I was by my grandparents' house in Wallkill near White Lake, and it was one of the scariest moments of my entire life. It was being lost in the woods. So I guess that could be a close second. Just that aspect of isolation in a foreign environment where I don't know what else is out there. I mean, shit, bears or whatever. I mean, it's strange mountain lions in certain areas if you're here in like Arizona or something. I mean, just basically, I'm a city person for a reason. I'm not as down with. I hate water. Water scares the crap out of me.
Me too, man.
I don't go swimming in the ocean. I still don't do that just because I'm that freaked out by all of that. My worst fear is being consumed by some sort of aquatic creature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So let's check in on the chat real quick.
Okay.
Rogue Reaper was here first. Hi, how's it going?
What up, Rogue Reaper?
Mark Pearson's here. He also said that.
Mark, you
Shout
love
out to
that picture,
Pearson.
buddy.
Yeah.
That picture you sent is dope, dude.
From my heart, I was like, I gotta follow Mark back on Twitter.
Yeah, man. I love seeing fans wearing our gear, man.
So
That's
he
awesome.
said
It's humbling and awesome.
He loves cats. He's got 4 of them, but sometimes he dreams of being eaten by cats.
Oh,
him out.
nice. That's
Freaks
a good
him out.
one.
Well, shit.
Wait,
I mean,
wait.
they've been
Dying
known-
and being eaten by
Yeah,
cats,
they've been
or
known to.
wait, no, I'm gonna ask this directly, Mark. Do you mean dying and being eaten by your cats post-mortem? Because that's a fear I have.
It happens all the time.
Or do you mean being eaten by a herd of cats? Or do you mean being eaten by a big cat, like a lion or a tiger or something like that? Like, what specifically cats eating you scares you of like that sort of thing? Tell me.
So we also have Channel Sundown with Amanda here.
Hey, Channel Sundown, what up? Amanda's pretty cool. She's pretty loyal already.
Nuke Nuke's here, and he also said,
I love Nuke.
"Goddamn."
Did he really? That's awesome.
He also said being buried alive would be pretty messed up. So.
Yeah,
That's a big one for me too. Well, I'm gonna wait for my second round on that one.
Esro's 40 is here. So how's it going?
Cool. Who else?
I don't know, the jungle would
That is Annabelle Riveros just got here.
Nice.
There's actually an aspect of being in a jungle or something, like somewhere in South America or whatever, which would be just horrible with the weird bugs that would like burrow into you. And I mean,
so
all the diseases.
Esro said being trapped under rubble to where you can't move.
Ooh.
that's a good
That's a
one.
really good
Yeah,
one.
for like an
Dude, that's a
earthquake or
really,
something.
really good one, S-Rose.
And
Holy shit.
You can't even
See,
move.
because that combines the buried alive aspect with like being pinned, but possibly being able to do something. But if not, like if you shift the wrong thing, the whole thing could come down on your face. And like, but do you want that, or would you rather suffocate?
How long do you wait? Are people looking for you?
Fuck, that is horrible. And honestly, that also, well, that kind of leads me to, well, Andrew, what's yours?
Okay, so getting into nightmare, I don't know about nightmare like certain situations, but I have I have one huge fear that like if it happened, which I've been told is almost impossible, I would freak out.
Okay.
It would be if a needle broke off in my skin.
Ooh.
Like you get an injection or something like that, and you just pink, and then all of a sudden
You just hear a nurse go, oops.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's nothing. Can you just pop it out? Like, does it eventually?
I'm sure they must have something like a magnet or
But
something to bring it, like
so
make
this
another
pretty
hole.
grody.
this
good Lord.
fear was brought to life, ironically, with Saw. When
Oh,
she
really?
was digging around the needles.
And number 2, which is still
And,
for
like,
me the most horrible
I
thing I've
literally
ever
had
seen
to.
in those
I had to
movies.
get
I've only
out.
seen 2.
I had to get out of there.
Really?
Dude, that is absolutely terrifying.
That's awesome.
Absolutely terrifying.
That's awesome that there's something like that for you
Oh,
out there.
yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I saw a video of a guy that got trapped on an elevator that wasn't free falling down, it was free falling up.
Oh.
So it smashes then fall.
Oh my god. Oh wow. So you have to go through it twice.
Yeah. So
and that's
and
hoping
the doors were opening, so it was just like you saw the floor. And, then
and that's hoping when you hit the top, you don't break your neck on the roof of it, depending on how fast.
Yeah. That's just crazy.
That's again. Oh my god, that's horrible. Let's see.
Brutal.
Hey Dino, what's up? Glad you made one, buddy. Yeah, we're talking nightmare situations. So, Dino, so far we've talked about being stranded out in the ocean in the middle of the night by a cruise ship being leaving you behind, which was mine. Fuego, what was yours, real quick?
I mean, I was thinking of being like down in the jungle or some sort of rural woods or something like
That's
that.
That's not what you said for the first one. What was the one you said for the first one?
Well, the first one was, I thought of the exact same thing as you.
Right.
Was being just stuck in the middle of the ocean in the middle of nowhere, but mine was more so like you can see the shore and you have to swim back.
So the jungle one, what do you mean, like stuck in like drug lord territory?
No, definitely like being. I mean, let's say you go on some strange tour when you're down in South America, and for whatever reason.
Turistas.
Yeah, well, not even so much that aspect.
Turistas was a good movie. Have you seen Turistas?
I have not seen Turistas, but I'm familiar.
Have you guys
with
seen Turistas? That's a good movie and very exemplary of what Fuego's talking about.
So, have you played the Far Cry games?
No, but I've heard of them.
Well, they're out on their own and they get scooped up by the people that run these islands or whatever.
No, that would be a terrible scenario. I would be freaked out if you had some sort of customs crap and almost like a broke down palace type thing where you get improperly locked up in some foreign country where the government is. I mean, why the hell would you be visiting somewhere like that anyway?
Mark Pearson answered.
I see that, yeah. Okay, so Mark Pearson says, regarding the cats being eaten by cats, he says, I'm alive and fighting them, just house cats, bro. I slam them against walls and shit, but they keep coming. That's pretty terrifying.
That reminds me.
Fuego will know the Stephen King story where the cat forces its way into the guy's mouth.
The Cat from Hell, which they did in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was originally actually, and this is fitting to say, there's going to be a late little Stephen King thing, just a really short video that I did talking about Creepshow because today's the 35th anniversary of Creepshow. So,
Dino, you just said Buried Alive is the worst. You actually signed on right after someone suggested, I think S. Rose suggested, what would be worse for you, Dino? Being buried alive traditionally in a coffin or being buried under a massive amount of rubble but being pinned under the rubble? What would be worse for you? I don't know if the ability to move and kind of thrash around would make it worse than being pinned. I think being pinned would probably be worse.
I don't know. You'd start to lose oxygen after a while from being buried alive, right?
You're going to lose oxygen either way because rubble, I mean, unless that would be even worse, buried under rubble, but you can see like pinholes of light coming through. So it's not out of reach. You just can't move to get it. Like that's always, it reminds me of this old cartoon book. It was like made like a Garfield book sideways. It was called Unpleasant Ways to Die, and one of the cartoon strips, each page was its own unpleasant way to die. And on one of the cartoon strips, it was a scuba diver or a snorkeler rather that had gotten his foot caught under a rock at the ocean floor and was trying to get to the surface, and the surface was right here. And he just couldn't make it to get his breath, and he died. And it was just a skeleton just hanging there. That's all is the cartoon, and that's pretty terrifying too. As a scuba diver, okay, I'll get to that. I'm thinking of more scary things as I go along.
Honestly, for me, there is really the whole fish out of water aspect that scares the shit out of me. Being in a foreign country and maybe you get off the bus in the wrong area Mexico, or something like that. Not just Mexico, various parts of Europe, South America, anywhere where not only would I sense hostility from like getting off on the wrong side of town in a different country where I can't understand what they're saying, and you can feel the hostility from them, and yet you don't understand what they're saying. That would just make it so much worse for me. That's when you would go into pure instinct mode as far as how the hell you would try to deal with something like that.
All right, I thought of a kind of an interesting scenario. So in this day and age, if you have to choose one of these scenarios.
Choose wisely.
Falling out of an airplane or being in an airplane that has been hijacked.
I'd say falling out of an airplane, but
you have a parachute.
Do you have a parachute?
It's a possibility.
Well, that's
if you
the
prepared
aim,
for
the
it,
aim
like,
to be.
you know, if they're like, all right,
people often
we're
prepare
throwing
for
people
falling out as opposed to jumping out, though.
That's very true.
Jumping out and having your parachute not open is a pretty big nightmare situation.
That's a horrible one. That's one of the reasons why I've never done skydiving. You know, even tandem skydiving.
I think going up to the top of a skyscraper and like leaning on the window and having the window give and just falling, or an even better example for me was I went to what's the really tall hotel in Vegas? Stardust? What's the really tall one?
Stratosphere.
Stratosphere. Thank you. Yeah, Stratosphere.
Yeah, people jump off of that thing. They do like the bungee jump.
No,
right?
well they've done that, yeah, but they have 2 different rides up there. Well, they have 4 rides up there actually, but they have one that's a roller coaster that just winds around the top of it and kind of goes over the side at one point.
That's on the rougher side of the strip, from what I remember.
Yeah, it is. They have another one that's like a slingshot thing where you sit and go straight up. So you go so high up you can't even see the stratosphere underneath you. You only see Vegas underneath you.
Yeah,
it's
honestly,
really, really scary.
Honestly, heights freak me out a little bit.
Well, listen to the last 2 rides. Listen to the last 2 rides. The third ride is a little rocket ship with 2 seats, enough to fit 2 people in each seat, front and like each in front of them, and it's on a track, right? The track drops, like the thing goes, but the track hangs over the side, and it drops, and your cart goes and just stops at the end, and you're hanging off the side of the stratosphere. We did that, and my nightmare situation at the time was, okay, I'm too heavy, this thing's not going to catch, and we're just going to go, and we're going to ride this rocket straight into the ground from the top of the stratosphere.
I can actually riff on that because a big nightmare scenario for me would be, I think Final Destination is rife with a ton of different nightmare scenarios, and you immediately made me think of, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4.
The roller coaster.
The roller coaster one.
Yeah,
that would be so horrible for something to go wrong with the track, and you know, like, you're gonna fall at some point unless you do something. Maybe you jump off and start. Shit, another nightmare scenario. Let's talk Frozen for a second, bro. I mean, come on, being stuck up there on the ski lift, and just the height aspect of it, and the cold aspect of it. Being stuck in the middle of nowhere in the cold would be so horrible, with no warm area to get to, and hypothermia starts to set in, and serious scare status, y'all.
Got it.
Jeez.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I wanted to go back because Laird Horror Show answered. He said in a coffin would be worse because he feels like he'd have hope under rubble. Channel Sundown says, I live in the South and people always invite me tubing. I'm afraid of getting so relaxed I fall asleep only to wake up and my group is gone with the beer cooler. Let's see. Noob Noob says, or like stuck in a caving tunnel. That is one that horrifies me. Like movies like Descent.
Yes.
When they have to crawl through those really small, tunnel tight spaces. Yeah. That stuff, and in like mummy movies when walls are closing in and they're trying to, and like especially when the ground and the thing are meeting and they have to crawl through that space before, like that gets me every time. I cannot stand that. It scares the shit out of me.
Claustrophobia, man.
Oh, claustrophobia big time. Like, I started to realize that I used to be okay in certain situations. Now, if I even have a towel over my mouth, like if I just do this, like I start to get a little panicky after more than a few breaths. I just don't like having anything in my face blocked by anything. Like, oh.
I feel you. You know, I'm gonna riff on the tubing situation because something
that's
came to my mind. It was a friend that goes down the Salt River a lot and stopped doing it. So a horrible scenario for me would be going down like a nasty, dirty river that you see everything from used condoms to beer cans to like shit floating around and all kinds of horrible things because people pee and shit and all that as they're faded going through the Salt River tubing and stuff like that. And she was telling me that a friend of hers, he cut his foot on a rock like about 8 years ago, and she's older, she's in her 50s, and she was like, cut his foot on a rock, and he ended up getting a flesh-eating bacteria. We're talking like straight up cabin fever shit, dude. Like, and they had to amputate half of his leg. Yeah, so
I didn't mean to laugh at that. I laughed because
I don't even go to
comment
Slide Rock because of that anymore, man.
We had
The
a
water is too
commenter say
dirty and
that.
disgusting. I don't go in lakes and rivers. Fuck that.
Fuego's biggest nightmare is going bald. Says Chris Payne.
Hi, Chris.
And Mauricio is also here. He's made a couple of. Said I was afraid of the dark when I was a kid, but afraid of the dark means your mind can play against you for all crazy shit your imagination, especially if you watch a lot of horror movies. Well, I actually agree with you completely. I'm 37. I shouldn't have said that, but I am, and I still, when I'm turning off lights in the rest of the house, I do kind of scoot a little bit faster out of those rooms.
Me too. Honest, guys, full disclosure, I slept with the nightlight till I was like 9 or 10. I was
probably past that.
I might have even been, because I thought so many times when I'm just sleeping in my bunk bed, I'd look out to the hallway and think I saw like a shadowy witch figure or something like that, and I was so prone to nightmares as a kid. I was back before I was really even watching horror movies. I was just, as I've said on the show many times, run into the scary section of the video store and look at all the covers, and that was nightmare fodder, all that 80s and 90s shit, that the covers were so gruesome and gross. And yeah, I was having nightmares about, after seeing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs when I was like 3 or 4, about a green witch and a purple witch, and I had a very overly active imagination as a child, so.
Andrew, any others occur to you?
I was trying to think of one, like, wildlife-wise, and I think it's just depending.
Wildlife-wise?
Yeah, like.
You don't like getting eaten either?
Well, not just, like, depending on the animal. Like, you know, if you had to fight a deer, you'd fight a deer, right? If you had an ultra.
I would have a hard time fighting a buck. Bucks are really scary.
Well, no, okay, all right.
They're huge.
All right, yeah. Well, so
it's a moose.
That's what I'm saying. So
if I'm fighting, I'll fight Bambi. Like, that's fine.
Exactly.
I'll take Bambi out.
Hey,
I think I could knock Bambi out.
Deer's getting a little uppity. I might have to take it out.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's got a big neck to snap.
But then
you play Dead Black, you fucking.
You think playing dead is a better idea than running?
Depending on how close it is. Yeah,
I'm
brown
out,
bears.
bro.
Yeah,
Seriously, bro. Every time.
Well, you're like a track star, so yeah, you can.
Go.
Climb that tree, maybe?
I am not.
Chances are they wouldn't even see you. They think you'd be like sunlight through the trees.
Yeah.
It's Charlie's up in the trees.
No, but so what about like? What about you guys for? I guess another nightmare scenario for me would be stingy bugs. Lots of stingy bugs.
Well, and that was one of the.
But not like bees or but like really weird, creepy, like those really fucked up looking bugs that. You really have to be in the jungles of South America to run across.
That's more so what I meant, less Teresa, and more just like if you were on some weird jungle, you know, once again, the aspect of isolation and not having the certainty that you know a way back to civilization, and there being all kinds of crazy creatures in that environment that could maim you, and honestly, I think even more so than being just, it's over and done with, some large animal comes and gets you, crocodile if you're in, I don't know, something like that.
I'd go out swinging against the crocodile.
But weird burrowing bugs and stuff like you see.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh,
dude,
I'm
fucking trying to just hold that fucking mouth shut. Just hold on, bro.
Like Green was talking about, man. And what the hell were they called?
That thing's not just gonna swim to the bottom.
That's what they do. They take their prey to the bottom.
Yeah, they try to drown you.
Well, they have control of it. They have control of you. I have control of it. I fucking have control of it.
If you're holding on to it, you have no control.
I have control.
You have no control.
That thing's not just gonna scoot down.
You have no control.
Okay, Chris Payne says, not waking completely out of a night terror, the shadow people never going away, and little Christina Aguilera monsters.
Oh, no.
Rogue Reaper has a story. I had an intense nightmare of walking in an old Victorian-style house at night. The only light to guide me was the moonlight through the windows. It led me into the kitchen all the way at the back. I went in there, and all I could see was darkness and the blue hue of the moonlight. Then suddenly the walls and cupboards started shaking, and this black shadowy liquid oozed from the corner. I went in there, and all I could see was darkness and the blue hue of darkness. Then I start to take. Then the ooze started to take a shape in the middle of the room. It took the form of a middle-aged lady with old-style clothing and an old-style haircut. She had black eyes and was staring me dead in the eyes while smiling. Safe to say, I woke up sweating. Yeah. If black ooze created an old woman in the middle of an old Victorian house, fuck yeah! I'm gonna not be happy about that. That's a good story, Rogue. I like that one. Good one. Let's see. Star, what is a nightmare situation for you? Andrew, what were you going to say?
Just still thinking about animals.
Well, like what? Like
Alright,
being
so-
mauled by them,
Well,
or
yeah, just
stung by them, or
like what would be
Fucked
what's
by
the
them.
worst? What's the worst? Well,
Yeah.
like Revenant style?
yeah.
Leo practically got raped, man.
I don't know, man. I like out here. A lot of people, they think snake bites are the real deal, but it's the little babies, like the little baby rattlesnakes, because they can't control their venom. That's a deadly animal that can't control the deadliness of itself.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
Scorpion, little baby scorpions.
And they get in your shoes. They get into little tiny places, and it's
Well, I mean,
surprise.
Surprise,
everything.
yeah.
Well, I mean, baby rattlesnakes too, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you were probably referring to. 'Cause
Yep.
they let it all out as opposed to just like
Yeah,
forcing
same
it.
as
Well,
scorpions.
yeah. When they're adults, they know that they have to conserve it for food and all that kind of stuff, like getting prey and all that kind of stuff. So.
Back to it, just being lost in general in a rural area where you don't know
You
where
do
there is. Like,
You do
dude,
not
seriously?
like rural areas.
No,
What's up with it?
well, I like them as long as it's a contained situation where I know where I'm going and what's like. For instance, if you go hike the superstitions by yourself like a dumbass and you get lost and you have no idea. I mean, you're looking up at the sun, you're trying to find east, the moon, especially like being lost in the mountains at night, especially like southwestern mountains like those would be horrifying to me, especially when you can barely see. Like, probably don't keep walking. I mean, shit, if you're in the superstitions, you know that if you go west, wait it out till the sun comes up.
So
a lot of people said home invasion. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of bring that up a little
Any
bit.
sort of kidnapping situation.
Well, Sarah Marcel says I was watching Scream once by myself when I was like in 3rd grade in a huge house all by myself. She reiterates by myself. She must have really been by herself.
I was alone.
I literally had a
by
panic
myself.
attack and had to call my dad to pick me up. Oh, you poor
That
thing,
sucks.
Sarah. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, Star Clark. No, let's see. Amanda Darrington. I can't remember what their names were off the top of my head. There was a couple guys who built an underground bunker. They had a secret panel they kept women inside as sex slaves.
Whoa.
S. Rose. I work in a hospital and sometimes have to go to the morgue freezer, and sometimes there will be a body or two in the gurney there. Maybe not a nightmare scenario, but definitely creepy as shit.
Yeah, what? Just imagine that thing gets up or something. That's crazy. What do? Punch it. Start swinging.
Okay, let's see. Mauricio, imagine intruders coming into your house like the strangers. See, that has never scared me. The intruder scenario has never scared me as much as anything else in horror. Like, I just, it doesn't freak me out. Like, I feel like I could defend myself pretty good, but that's only because I've never really been in a fight because no one's really tried to mess with me. But people with intent to kill, I would probably be more scared of and stuff. But
that's why like a kidnapping or being held at your will and a gun knife, whatever, would be a lot scarier. If you're already subdued, already tied up or whatever.
Rogue Reaper says a normal person you can kill him, but if it was like Jason Voorhees or maybe somebody of a supernatural-esque.
Yeah, I mean that sucks. Then you run.
Yeah.
Then it's
Then
out of how far
Then
can
it's
you
we're
get
back
away?
in the movies.
Nightmare
Gotta get
situation.
away.
Freddy shows up in my dream, and
that's
the
the
spoiler
worst.
room.
That's the worst.
You just have to run.
Anyone here experienced sleep paralysis? Rogue Reaper asks. I've only experienced it once. I have never experienced it myself, and I don't know. I believe in it, but I guess I'm lucky to never have experienced it. I'm gonna knock on wood on that.
There you go. Cover your base.
What about you guys?
I have not, at least to the best of my knowledge, maybe like very briefly, and it just didn't really sink in what it was, at least at the time. But that's like a waking dream kind of thing.
What are we talking about?
It's sleep paralysis.
Yeah,
Oh.
sleep paralysis.
No.
What about that, Andrew?
I've woken up with like
A weight on your chest?
No, like you have a dead arm or dead leg or whatever.
Well, that's
That's
because you've
nothing
been
from
laying
how
on
you're
it.
I have tried to operate and like fallen down. Like I like I could just get out of bed and like and I'm like what's going on? Like how long is this gonna be?
You're like, I should have complete control of my faculties.
There for a while, I don't know. That was happening a lot more than it should have. I don't know if I was just sleeping in weird positions or something, but I would hate that. Like I haven't seen it, but I saw the previews like Get Out, where you're stuck there's nothing you can do about it.
Mhm.
They had, I think it's a Jet Li movie, Kiss of the Dragon. He was an acupuncture dude. And that's what he did. He like froze people, and he'd be like, "I'm gonna kill you in this way, and this is how I'm gonna do it,
Nice.
and you're gonna know everything, and you're gonna feel
Really,
everything."
that's awesome.
So when I pulled this, it was awesome.
That sounds badass.
Yeah.
Waking up in the lair of some evil murderer or whatever,
yes.
and you're tied up and subdued, and somebody's kidnapped you, and you're looking around, and you know that either somebody drugged your drink, or you were hit over the head, or whatever it may be, and you do not know where you are, and you know that you're trapped and being held captive. That would be so horrible.
Star finally chimes in with one from her. I'm assuming her. I dream of being in rooms full of venomous snakes all the time. I'm always bit and black out. That's no good.
Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What if it's like Funny Games? Have you guys seen Funny Games?
I haven't seen the original and the remake.
I saw the remake and I thought it was good, but
it's another home invasion.
Yeah, but that's a weird one. They're like way psychotic.
Those two boys, and that's.
What about like a Hush scenario?
Once again, home invasion a little bit.
Well, home invasion, but with like a disability kind of thrown in there, or maybe like you're always kind of like out there in the boonies or whatever, but like a severe isolation mixed with home invasion.
Would it be too exploitative? Would it be too exploitative? Would it be too exploitative to do a wheelchair-bound home intruder, like Home Alone sort of thing, where he is essentially a prepper, but he's in a wheelchair, but he worries about home invasion because maybe a home invasion is why he's in the wheelchair? And so maybe the person that did it was sent to jail, and maybe he gets out, and the guy knows he's going to be getting out at some point, and so over the course of the time the guy's been in prison, he preps his whole house with all of these cool things that only a guy in a wheelchair can actually, enact and things like that.
So like Panic
I think
Room,
I just wrote a movie, guys.
Yeah,
I think I just wrote a movie.
Panic Room, where Jodie Foster is in a wheelchair.
Except no, it's kind of like Panic Room, except the person's in a wheelchair and add it to it Home Alone because he's got all of these.
It's a kid.
No, but he has all of these devices to prevent the actual guy, like all of these things set up because he's in a wheelchair and he can't fight. He's got all these contraptions set up all around his house to fight for him that he triggers as they try and come in.
Okay.
Guys, it's a good idea. It's a fucking good idea.
He's working on the script now.
I am.
It's coming.
Copyright Cecil Laird. All right. Andrew, what's another one for you?
Oh man.
What about someone? I think Dino or someone else said, what if you were deep sea diving and after an hour and a half, your light and your oxygen gets cut off and you have a limited supply, but not enough to get back to the surface? Would that freak you out as much as anything else, or is that
that's like certain death?
I mean, yeah, like I don't know.
But that's not something that you just like, because you'd never be in that situation.
Well, yeah, it's just like at that point in time, like maybe I try and go up, but at some point in time, you just let that thing go.
Yeah.
If you swim up too
Jesus,
quickly, though, I mean. But I mean, if you swim up too quickly,
Jesus,
right?
take the wheel.
Jesus, take the wheel on that one.
It would be just like in Deep Star 6, where Miguel Ferrer or whatever his name was, he basically went up from the deep sea installation too quickly, and he started getting the nosebleeds, and all that shit in his head just exploded because of the pressure. You can't go up that quickly. You don't have enough oxygen to swim all the way back up to the surface at a regular rate. Like,
so here's do you guys believe in spontaneous human combustion?
No.
Pyrokinesis, sure.
Do I believe in it? No.
Like, you don't think it could happen?
I've actually heard that if you hold in your farts too Kenny had a new girlfriend on South Park, and he was holding in those farts, man.
I think burning alive would suck. That's one that's no bueno.
So trapped in a burning building.
I like this. Bloodsport1 chimes in. Waking up in a strange room in an unknown world would be scary.
Trapped in a burning house, though. Murder, sir. Mercer brings up a good point. That, I mean, dude, being in a burning house and having to try to escape and, having to crawl on the bottom and the smoke is above, so you're trying to get out as quickly as possible, and you see, like, pieces of wall coming down and, maybe where you're crawling, like some of the floor falls out if you're on a second or a third floor. Like, that would be, it's like, fuck. That is a nasty
Leslie McCann brings up one that scares the living shit out of me, and it is very real world. I suffer from visual migraines where I can lose my sight for up to an hour. The first time it happened, it totally freaked me out. Going blind is one of my biggest fears, and honestly, it's one of mine too. Like, I've thought many times, like, if I had to lose one of my senses, which one is the one I want to lose the least?
Sight.
And sight definitely is the last one I want to lose, because I want to be able to see the beauty of the world around me, even if I can't hear it, even if I can't touch it, even if I can't taste it. I still want to be able to see it.
Yeah, I'm such a lover of music that I don't know.
I know. See, that's different for you. See, for me, it's movies and stuff. So for you, if it's music, being able to hear things,
50,
but
50, that's a coin toss for me, man. Shit.
Man, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
So Leslie, that's tough. You gotta. I mean, man, I'd love to do an interview with you just about the first time that shit happened. Wow, that's crazy.
So going on with the music thing, I actually thought of a nightmare scenario that I personally experienced myself. I was at a festival called Street Scene in San Diego. This was over a decade ago, and I was in the very front of it. It's a huge, huge festival that basically took over all of the surroundings for I think it was Qualcomm. Was that where the San Diego Chargers played for the longest time before they moved to LA? Yeah, so all the streets of Qualcomm, like the parking lots and stuff that surrounded, were taken over for this concert. And there was Snoop Dogg, and there was AFI, and there was just so many different groups on multiple stages. And I'm right in the front for Tool, like right in the front. And there are seas and seas and seas of people behind me. And the crowd collapsed. So everybody falls on top of one another. And there were people like trapped under layers of people. We're talking 3-4 people, and like it was like a straight up pile, and there was no way for anybody to get out. And this girl was screaming about my legs, I can't feel my legs, goddamn! And she was like crying and crying. We were trying to pull people up, and none of us could move. And that basically Maynard stopped the song, and he was like, "We need everybody to take a step back. There's no way these trapped people are actually going to be able to get out." I mean, geez, if I was at a festival like Coachella or something stupid like that, or Voodoo or Bonnaroo or whatever, and man, if you were like tripping on psychedelics or something crazy like that, it would make it 100 times worse.
Insane. So Star Clark was referencing that Leslie, the visual migraines.
Right.
Said I get those too, but it's more like falling down a well of after images.
Ooh.
I am legally blind and haven't always been. Fear is real, and I'm terrified of losing my hearing no show tunes. So I am legally blind in one of my eyes, and if anything happens to the good one, there's no daily functions become almost obsolete.
So is that a big fear?
It's not a fear. I've never let it stop me. My early doctor that I went to said I'd never drive a car, I'd never play sports, I'd never do this, I'd never do that. I didn't listen to that guy. And I think I'm better for it.
Mm-hmm.
But at any point in time, I've always had shatterproof glasses. Like they don't shatter. And it's always the first time I was explained why I was forever like, oh shit.
Is what happened to the bad eye? Could that happen to the other eye? Was it a physiological thing?
It was a birth thing. When I was born with a lazy and a crossed eye.
Oh, okay.
So this is just me. This is my diagnosis on it, but the connection with my brain never developed. So the eye, it works. Like, I don't know.
So do you see?
I can see stuff, but I can't see. Like, I can't. There's no detail to anything. It's just.
So it's like it's out of focus.
It's all peripheral. There's no focusing at all.
Huh.
The part of my eye that focuses
is just
is
all
not
blurry.
Connected. It's
Can you see color at least?
Colors, shapes.
So that's how you tell like where this table ends.
Like,
and
oh
where
shit,
the rest
somebody's gonna hit me in the face.
Okay.
But
somebody else who suffers from horrible eyesight, but not to that
driving.
degree. I mean,
it goes away. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts. I'm like double.
Kevin Ketchy is here, guys.
What up?
What up?
Yeah, he says I get visual ocular migraines as well. Can't see anything but bright light for an hour. Man, everyone it lasts for an hour. That sucks, man.
Well, I'm like double digit in both eyes, and so I mean, usually you guys see me wearing contacts, obviously. But if you've seen any of the episodes where I have occasionally worn the glasses, big old thick Coke bottles, man. I mean, I'm so bad that they can't even correct me with LASIK, which is why I, just can't do it. What would be the point to improve your eyesight but not still I mean, shit, I'd still have to wear glasses and contacts, so why would I spend a couple $1,000s on that if they're only going to help improve it? It doesn't make sense.
I'm going to get a little serious and then follow it up with something else. Chase Smith says, this is a bit personal. I was misdiagnosed with schizophrenia and people used it to get away with stuff. They said I was remembering things wrong due to the schizo.
Wow.
For a while, it was a living nightmare not knowing what was real and not in my memories.
Damn.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's
man.
big time. That's heavy.
Sorry to hear that, Chase.
Yeah,
I'm glad you got through it though. That's rough, man. You're a strong person for having made it through. So I did want to jump to Bloodsport because he's bringing it a bit more into the fantastical, which I think doing that for nightmare scenarios would be pretty good. I think. So I'm going to piggyback on what he says, but what if you're walking and as you walk you're transported to another world full of mechanical robots / droids? The only place humans live is in the wilderness of crazy humans and murderers. Yeah, that's pretty nightmare scenario.
Yeah, it sounds like Terminator.
Mixed with a little bit of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think being stranded out in space would be definitely a nightmare scenario, like Gravity style.
Yeah, that's scary shit.
Yeah, you see your home, but you can't get there. Like that's truly messed up.
And that's not even a supernatural one. That's just like, once again, the isolation aspect. Isolation, being just not having your environment within your control, having all of those external things that you have no control over.
Somebody said if anyone wants to watch, or it was the Lazy Gamer says, if anyone wants to watch the horror of losing your 5 senses, watch the movie Perfect Sense with Ewan McGregor and
Eva Green. Okay,
I've seen that movie. That's a good movie.
Is it?
Yeah, they're also like basically everybody in the world is slowly losing sense by sense at a time.
That sounds cool. Well, that was a good one.
It's a thriller, but it's sad. It's like kind of post-apocalyptic-y a little bit.
Wow.
More so dystopian, I guess, but. I mean, Eva Green,
she's great.
I'll watch her in anything.
Yeah. I once had a nightmare of being chased by a gargoyle. Yes, a gargoyle. Think Goliath from the Gargoyles cartoon, but more horror-ish. That would be cool. I think gargoyles are grossly underutilized in horror. I think a fucking gargoyle story in a city. Why not? Why hasn't that been done yet?
They've got it in Tales from the Dark Side, the third story. Remember where his whole family turns out to be gargoyles when he sees the gargoyle and he's the
No, I don't remember that. But you're telling me that one story in Tales from the Dark Side precludes it from being done as a movie now?
It was in the movie. It was the third segment in the movie. The one
but
where
as a full movie, not as part of an anthology, dipstick.
Okay. I'm just saying that of Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, I thought that was the best segment in the entire thing because remember, he sees the gargoyle.
That's what I'm saying. Let's have a whole movie about a gargoyle and it can move with like the stony movements, like when it moves, it should have stony movements and stuff, and it should obliterate people.
I thought
it should just smash them like.
That would be dope. I mean, Savini did a great job with that part, though, man. I mean, the fact that he sees the gargoyle and it comes up to him and says, "I will spare your life. I will spare your life as long as you never tell anybody about me." And yet he's still obsessed with it. He meets a wife, he has kids, and yet he's still drawing the gargoyle. And then his wife finds his stuff and is like, "What is this?" And he doesn't have to tell her, but he does. And you need to see it if you guys haven't. It's so good.
Somebody said Jeepers Creepers is a gargoyle.
He kind of is, right?
Yeah, kind of. I suppose. He's got.
He does have the wings.
He has wings. What is the classification of a gargoyle? What do you have to be a gargoyle?
It's almost like a flying reptile.
Do you have talons? Don't they? I feel like they have talons.
I think they have talons. Yeah, it's like think about the fact that dinosaurs were like related to birds, and so that transition. I mean, look at like a pterodactyl, for instance. That's pretty damn close to a gargoyle in a lot of ways. Gargoyles are just a little more humanoid.
Is it just the lore of the gargoyle? There's like a demonic lore?
I don't know if there's a specific lore for the gargoyle. That's why I feel like it's ripe for good storytelling. Because if there's not, then fucking make up whatever you want. It could be a person that changes into a gargoyle. It could be someone cursed because they're completely cold and stone-like as a human.
Yeah, I didn't think there was a transformation with gargoyles. Like they're always in that particular.
It would be cool if it was like a werewolf sort of movie, but with the
mythology.
Yeah. Do what you want.
Rogue Reaper said, agreed, a gargoyle horror movie would be sick. The characters would have to last one night in an old abandoned church in the hillside.
That's actually not
Yeah,
bad.
no,
I was
that's not
thinking
just
city
going.
because there's a lot in the city. But yeah,
Shoot,
if there
New
was,
York City,
if there was a,
especially, or
yeah, I was
somewhere-
thinking that. I was
or
thinking
somewhere
that.
in
But
Europe.
or Chicago. But
Yeah.
but yeah, if there is just a church that there's a story of monsters that haunt a church, you know, and a group of people, maybe a group of filmmakers go to try and document it, and then as they approach, they see all these gargoyles on the church, and then when shit starts to happen, they go outside and all the gargoyles are gone, and then they go back in, and it's like a sort of a defend sort of your home situation, like Demon Night was, you know. Except gargoyles are trying to get in instead. Like that'd be pretty cool
take the
too.
Demon Knight creatures
There's
and
so
put
many
wings on
different
them.
ways you could do a cool gargoyle story, man.
Wasn't was it Larry Cohen? Guys, help me out. Is it Q the Winged Serpent? That was like kind of a big gargoyle movie, if I remember. I guess it was more of like a big creature in that compared to like people-sized gargoyles. But yeah. Honestly, though, Stephen King did a book called it's Nightmares in the Something. Totally the last name is eluding me, but it's basically a nonfiction where he did some prose and like a description about all of these different stone gargoyles that are all throughout all of these different cities. I think it was like predominantly New York, maybe a little bit of Chicago, maybe a few places in Europe, but I think most of the photos were from New York City and just crazy places all throughout where they have like on top of churches, on top of weird old buildings. I mean, I was thinking Ghostbusters too with the weird, they were basically like gargoyle dogs, like minus the wings that, you know, turned from stone to whatever Zool made them.
All right, so let's see. Falling into a zoo enclosure being eaten alive, says Newton.
I'm telling you, man, the animals thing, like,
Dicks out for her, man.
Zoo
There
enclosure
are-
would be crazy.
man, there are just some animals that you just know. Like, if you're within like 15 feet, if you're looking at the whites of its eyes, you're done. That's it.
What if they didn't attack you right away and you're in the lion's den and you like ran and found somewhere where you could kind of hide and they're just kind of like,
You're playing with house money, is what you're doing.
well, it's
You
better
should
than
be
dying.
dead.
You're trying.
You should be dead. I mean, I don't know, like they have.
You got to fight, Rock.
They have video of a giraffe that charges a Jeep convoy. or
Giraffes
whatever.
and hippos are some of the most aggressive
Yo,
that
have
you
you
can
seen?
encounter in
Have you
in the
seen a
Africa,
giraffe
man.
fight another giraffe? They
Yeah.
just swing their fucking heads at each
Yeah,
other.
they've got
Just
dick,
bam,
skulls,
bam.
bro. Yeah.
Like that thing does that to me, I'm dead.
Mm.
One shot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Kevin
That's the
Ketchy
10 minutes.
says, I have a lot of nightmares about tornadoes and sharks. And then Mauricio says, Kevin Ketchy, don't watch Sharknado.
Yeah, the natural disaster situation is definitely something else. I mean, being caught in a huge flooded area or something like that, a Katrina situation where, you know, people start looting, things are getting crazy, plus there's water everywhere. There's really no escape. You're waiting on the National Guard or something to, you know, to FEMA or whatever to come and help you out, but you know you're pretty much on your own, and who the hell knows if you're gonna make it.
Man.
There's disease, there's people acting insane because it's utter anarchy. That'd be fucking
What
nuts.
about genetic experiments? Being the subject of a genetic experiment.
That's borderline with being
That would be,
kidnapped by a
if
slasher.
you're kept like alive and they do the eye thing, where your eyes are
Clockwork
always
Orange.
kept open,
Yeah.
like that would be fucked up.
Just
that
that
alone,
part of it?
no, I mean if they do that too, especially.
Kidnapped
No,
by
if they were experimenting on me, but they didn't do the eye
So-
thing, I'm okay with it.
Man, I gotta find out who your doctor is so I can just, next time you're in there for a checkup, he just comes in and alright,
Yeah, he's gonna
keep
do
your eyes
that,
wide
and then,
open.
Yeah, and then he's gonna cover my mouth and he's gonna be like, breathe for a while.
any sort of torture stuff would be
What the fuck did Andrew pay you?
What the hell?
Who's seen The Dentist? Isn't that a horror movie
Yeah.
where the guy is like he straps his patients down and you're trapped and he's like yanking teeth out and
The
drilling the
sequel,
shit,
the
yeah.
cover for the sequel for The Dentist 2 was really cool because it was a person screaming and all their teeth had been removed. Instead, like shards of metal and things had been shoved in instead.
Ugh,
It was really
man,
cool.
and like they rip all your teeth out and then they start just shoving. Ugh. It's horrible. Horrible, guys. Yeah. Then, yeah. they do
Dr.
like-
Giggles was better. Yeah. I agree.
Dr. Giggles. Yeah. No, I remember Dr. Giggles.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up just a little bit early because Fuego and I have to prepare. We're still gonna be doing the live horror news with booze tonight. I'm thinking we'll go ahead and try and get it going at 8 o'clock. So we'll take a little bit of a break, maybe 7:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, how about 7:30? Just the so it doesn't go too super late.
Yeah, we can
especially
try and do that.
People in different areas.
Yeah, so
Different
come
time
back
zones.
here in about 40 minutes, and we'll be back doing the horror show news with booze. Thank you guys very much for doing this with us. This was a really fun topic. I'm glad you guys got engaged with it and were commenting the whole way through. Very good. Andrew got to take part in this
Yay!
too.
I was here and I did stuff.
Yeah,
Everyone's been
so-
asking for you, man.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Where's Andrew lately?
Thank
I'm
you
here.
guys very much.
Yeah.
If you're watching this later, make sure you leave in the comments down below what your nightmare scenario is. We will still review them and comment back. So thanks very much for watching. Thank you guys, everyone in the comments, for joining and participating. We really appreciate you guys. Guys, if you don't mind, click the link in the description box down below to support us through the merch store. We have some really cool new designs on the store, and right now there's a pre-Black Friday sale going on, and then there is going to be a Black Friday sale going on, and then a Cyber Week sale going on after that. So pretty much all the way up until Christmas, there's going to be some awesome sales where you can get stuff almost at half off. So check it out. We got that really cool new horror show design with the Pennywise smile around it. Hopefully we're going to have something physical to show you. Yep. Hopefully something physical we'll be able to show you very soon. But thank you guys very much for joining us. And remember, stay scared.
Noob, noob. Noob, noob.
Man,
Noob, noob.
Dude,
Everybody
another one
in the
would be
house
having
saying
a
noob,
walk through
noob.
class. Walk through class.